I turned 23 under a neon ceiling. Miami, 2020. Nights smelled like coconut sunscreen and ambition, and the ocean kept whispering that it had seen worse than us. My name is Jovie, like a joke someone keeps telling, even when it lands heavy. I worked bottle service 3 blocks off Ocean Drive, where bass made the walls pulse like a heartbeat, and the tips paid the rent if you smiled like a secret. Home was a beige 2-bedroom with a view of the alley and a roommate who introduced herself as Lux. Not Alexis, not Alexandra, just Lux. Like light. Like something you should never stare at too long. She came with a suitcase the size of a confession and a smile that always clocked the room for angles. We were not friends. We were survival partners. Bills on the counter, I'd say, tossing my keys. Got it, Lux would sing, blowing mint vapor out the kitchen window. I'll Venmo you tonight. Tonight was elastic for Lux. It stretched until it snapped. At midnight on a Tuesday, I was on shift, glitter stuck to the curve of my collarbone, when my phone buzzed against my hip. Bank alert. Your credit card ending in 1442 has a new charge of $3,299.47 at Skyline Jewelry. Reply Y, if authorized. The room tilted. The bottle in my hand sweated cold. I didn't even own a real necklace, just a gold-plated J that left my skin green when I forgot to take it off for showers. I texted back N with trembling thumbs, then called the bank between orders. A monotone held music, then a voice that sounded like it had never seen the ocean. Ma'am, there are also several pending transactions, she said. Hotel suites, designer shoes, and a private car service. Cancel them, please, that's not me. Are you sure, Ms. Moreno? The merchant notes say the card was presented in person. In person. I pictured my wallet in the kitchen dish rack, the place I tucked it after long shifts when my brain ran on fumes. I pictured Lux's nails, almond-shaped mirror gloss, opening it like a flower. A tray of sparklers flared, sending white sparks into my peripheral. Table 12 wants the ace, my manager shouted over the bass. Move, Jovie! Move, Jovie. I delivered champagne with a grin that felt stapled on, and a laugh that belonged to someone who didn't have a sinkhole opening under her feet. The crowd cheered for the right price. No one noticed when I disappeared. I biked home fast enough to slice the humid air, skin sticky, heart doing drumline cadences. The apartment door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled like her perfume, expensive citrus, sharp enough to gild your tongue. Lux, I called. She answered from the mirror. Hey, babe. She had glitz dust on her eyelids and a new necklace on her throat, thin, gold, with a pendant shaped like a lightning bolt. Like Lux. That's pretty, I said, hearing my voice from 10 feet behind me. Isn't it? She touched the pendant with an inner thigh smile. Early birthday present to self. From Skyline Jewelry? Her hand froze. I dropped my wallet on the counter. They called me. My card. There are thousands of dollars. Lux's face arranged itself with careful innocence. Wait, what? You think Jovie, are you serious? I opened my bank app. The screen was a confession booth. Hotel Palmetto, 2 nights, car service, shoes, jewelry, all today. She laughed, a high bell that only honored itself. Girl, you must have been hacked. In person, I said. They swiped it. So maybe your manager borrowed it? She said. That happens. Or one of your big tippers. Lux. Don't Lux me, she snapped, eyes hardening. I wouldn't touch your card. We stared at each other across 4 feet of cheap countertop and 2 months of rent I couldn't breathe around. Then Lux softened, tilted her head, slipped into silk. Tell you what, she said. We'll figure it out in the morning. I've got a friend at the bank, okay? Let's not freak. My phone pinged again. Bank alert, 2,047.99 at Hibiscus Heels. Her gaze flicked down quick as a blade. My fury rose, hot and dumb. Give me my money back. Do you hear yourself? She asked, voice low. You're accusing me. In my home. In our home, I said. Our eyes were dark mirrors. I slept with my wallet under my pillow like a kid and woke up every hour to make sure it was still there. By morning, the charges had multiplied like mold. Bank, 1217 Duetters Tropicana Suites. Bank, 488.79, Luxcar, Miami. There was a buzzing in my head, like a trapped fly that never died. Panic gnawed at the edges of my tongue. Rent, tips, groceries. The math lined up like a firing squad. At noon, I called Hector. He was the kind of friend you inherit after disaster and keep because your heart doesn't know how to be less lonely. People called him a hacker. I called him the only person I knew who could see patterns in noise. "You're quiet," he said after hello. "What's burning?" "Everything," I said, and told him about the card, the charges, the lightning bolt on Lux's throat. "Send screenshots," he said, "and lock your credit. Today." "She says she didn't do it." "It's always the one who spells her name like a brand," he said. I laughed, brittle and grateful. "Also, check your room, check your bag, check your pockets. If she's bold enough to use your card, she's bold enough to—" My bedroom door was slightly ajar. It had been shut when I left. "Hold on," I said. Inside, everything looked normal until it didn't. The zipper on my tote was crooked. My jewelry box, cheap white wood, plastic mirror, sat open, trays skewed like a mouth missing teeth. I knelt. Inside my tote, tucked into the side pocket where I kept lip balm and receipts, was a small Ziploc bag with something white and crystalline inside. Not sugar, not salt, not anything I owned. I froze. From the living room, Lux's laugh filtered through with influencer confidence, as if she were on a live stream. "Guys, you will not believe this haul." "Hector?" My voice was thin as printer paper. "I think she put something in my bag." "What something?" Then he heard my silence. "Jovie, do not touch it. Get out of the apartment now." I stood too fast and the room went black around the edges. I tried to swallow my pulse. Lux's phone voice rose, sunshine bright. "And the best part? When you glow up, the world glows up with you." My throat tasted like pennies. She's framing me. My mind flashed scenes like jump cuts. Me in cuffs. My mother's face hard with disappointment. My boss shaking his head. A new sound entered the apartment. Knuckles on wood. Quick, official. Knock. Knock. Knock, knock. "Miami-Dade police, open up." Lux's laugh turned off. I stepped into the hall as she emerged from the living room like a cat from a sunbeam. She looked at me, eyes wild. Then her expression slid into something saintly. "Do you want me to get it?" she asked sweetly. "Jovie?" Hector said in my ear. "Say nothing. Lawyer up. I'm on my way." The knocks came again, firmer. "Police!" I swallowed. Put the bag back where I found it with 2 fingers and a breath I didn't trust. When I opened the door, 2 officers stood on the doormat, clipped and efficient. "Jovie Moreno?" the taller one asked. "Yes," I said, which might have been the biggest mistake of my life. "We received a tip about narcotics at this address," he said, level as a protractor. "We need to ask a few questions." Behind me, Lux clasped her hands like a youth pastor and widened her eyes to the size of coins. "I told her I was worried," she said, voice trembling. "She's been different, stressed, spending like crazy. I didn't know who else to call." The taller officer's gaze drifted past my shoulder. "Do you consent to a search?" he asked. I felt my world slot into a script someone else had written. My mouth worked. Words tangled at the door of my teeth. I tasted powder, shame, and a fury so bright it scorched. "Jovie?" Hector was a ghost in my ear. "If they don't have a warrant, don't consent. Ask if you are detained or free to leave." The shorter officer glanced at my tote, the one sitting by my bedroom door like a patient animal. "Ma'am?" the taller one repeated. I looked at Lux. She blinked slowly, that lightning bolt blinking with her. My heart chose violence, or maybe, that day, it chose survival. I squared my shoulders and asked, steady as I could, "Do you have a warrant?" A beat. The taller officer lifted a sheet from his clipboard. "We do," he said. The room dropped 10 degrees. "Then step aside," he added. I stepped aside. As the officers crossed the threshold, Lux touched my arm, soft as an apology. "I'm here for you," she murmured. In my head, something cold and clean clicked into place. If she'd written a script, I'd learned enough to improvise. I watched the officer's eyes land on the tote. The world telescoped to the sound of latex stretching over knuckles. My phone vibrated. Hector again. "Open your notes. Do exactly what I text. We'll fight back." The shorter officer reached for my bag. I inhaled, tasted fear and citrus, and whispered to myself, "Remember your name." The zipper began to open. The zipper rasped open like teeth. I swear I could hear Lux inhale, ready for her performance. The officers moved slow, professional, as if they'd done this 100 times. Maybe they had, but it was my life unspooling. When the smaller officer lifted the Ziploc bag, his brows barely twitched. "Looks like cocaine," he said, his voice neutral, like reading a weather report. The taller officer turned to me. "Ms. Moreno, is this yours?" "No," I said instantly, louder than I meant. "That's not mine. I've never touched—" Lux cut me off, voice syrupy sweet, just cracked enough to sound believable. "She's been off lately." I tried to help her, but when she brought that into the house, my jaw ached from clenching. "She planted it," I snapped. "Check the fingerprints. Check anything. That's not mine." The officers shared a glance. They didn't say it out loud, but I could read it. Everyone says that. My phone buzzed again. "Hector, stay calm. Ask for a lawyer. Do not confess. I'm digging." I nodded slightly, as if the text had weight. Because it did. "I want a lawyer," I said, voice steadier this time. The taller officer nodded. "That's your right. But you'll have to come with us for questioning." Behind me, Lux's face folded into pity, into sorrow, into the look of someone who wins because she controls the narrative. I wanted to claw that expression off her. Instead, I let them lead me out. The hallway smelled like mildew and other people's dinners. My neighbors' doors cracked open, curious eyes flickering like moths. I walked with cuffs biting into my wrists, and I thought, this is it. My life is over because of her. But panic only burned so long before it hardened into something else. At the station, under buzzing fluorescent lights, I repeated the same words. "That's not mine. I want a lawyer." They kept me in a cold room, steel table, 2 chairs. The kind of room where people broke down. I didn't, not yet. Because Hector wasn't just anyone. He knew things. He had ways. When the lawyer finally arrived, a public defender with tired eyes, I gave her everything. The roommate, the charges, the necklace from Skyline Jewelry. Her brow furrowed. "If what you're saying is true, we'll need proof. Hard proof. Do you have any?" "No, not yet." "Then we need to build it. Because right now, they've got a bag of powder and a roommate who's already making statements." Lux had already spoken. Of course she had, painting me as reckless, desperate, spiraling. The public defender tapped her pen. "We'll push for bail. Don't talk to anyone but me." That night, back in my holding cell, Hector's message reached me through a borrowed phone call. "They froze your account," he said. "Lux reported you for fraud. Said you maxed out your own card." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went bloodless. "She's not just trying to ruin me, she's burying me." "Listen," Hector said. His voice dropped lower, steel wrapped in calm. "She's sloppy. She's flashy. People like her always hide money where they think no one's looking. Offshore, crypto wallets, shadow accounts. If you want revenge, I can help you find them." I closed my eyes. The fear in my chest hollowed out, leaving something sharper, something alive. "She wanted me in a cage," I whispered. "She wanted to erase my name. But if she thinks I'm going down quiet, she doesn't know me at all." Silence stretched between us, humming with possibility. "Then say the word," Hector said, "and we start tonight." I opened my eyes to the cold gray wall of the cell. My reflection in the scratched steel toilet looked like someone new. "Do it," I said. "Find her secrets. Find everything." And in that moment, revenge wasn't just an idea. It was a lifeline. Hector smelled like burnt coffee and a bus station when he slid into the booth across from me. He kept his voice low the way people who work in basements learn to speak. Careful, measured, like he was budgeting consonants. "You look like someone who hasn't slept in 3 weeks," he said, and for once I couldn't argue. He slid a small folded sheet of paper across the table. On it was a name I'd only heard Lux mutter in passing: Aurelia Partners. "Offshore shell," Hector said. "Not the kind that buys postcards, the kind that eats invoices and burps out clean money." I tasted the words like metal. They felt real and poisonous at the same time. "How sure are you?" I asked. He didn't give me a play-by-play. He never did. He gave me what he could without handing me a map. "Enough to follow a thread," he said. "Enough to put a light on it. But lights attract things. If we shine too bright too fast, circuits notice." He smiled a tiny, rueful smile. "Also, I can't drain an account for you. That's not my plan. I can find the breadcrumb trail. You decide what to do when we've got the map." We agreed on stealth, soft inquiries, social engineering whispers, a cautious net. I started with the small things I could control. I called Maya, my old barback, the one who remembered faces the city forgot, and could move through a club like she belonged to its rhythm. She owed me for saving her shift once, and now she owed me more. "Help me poke around," I said. "Just look, ask questions, be quiet about it." Maya obliged with the kind of loyalty that used to be a warm thing inside me before everything burned. She pulled tabs. She found receipts. She found a photo of Lux on a rooftop in the Upper East, wrist loaded with the same lightning bolt pendant, captioned with a private handle I didn't recognize. Hector traced that handle to a pattern: a series of shell companies, dead emails, and a vanity crypto address that behaved like someone squirreled money into corners of the internet. He reported back in fragments. Not huge, yet. Lots of microtransfers. Lux likes to launder little by little, like peeling an orange. I wanted to explode with joy and fury. Instead, I breathed in, slow and deliberate. We had something. It was thin and threadbare, but it was a thing we could pull. But nothing in revenge is clean. The first obstacle arrived as a text that read like a slap. "We found video of you leaving the apartment last night with an item in your bag. You're under investigation for narcotics possession. Seen. Read." The pings from the department kept me awake. Subpoenas, DMV records, calls to my manager asking awkward questions. Lux had become a miniature storm. I started sleeping in shifts, like a stray animal that can never fully relax. Then Hector found the ledger. Not a ledger with ink and paper, but a ledger the way criminals call it. Records, timestamps, IP hints. He showed me the edges of it in the only way he dared. Screenshot with blurred lines, annotations like ghost handwriting. "Look at the timestamps," he said. "Late-night deposits tied to a concierge at a boutique hotel. Transfers that match the day of the jewelry spree. An account in the Caymans that relays through a Singapore node." I nodded and tried very hard not to sound like I was reading a novel. This felt criminal, intoxicating, and terribly validating. "Do we have proof?" I asked. Hector's jaw tightened. "We have a ledger that points to money moving from Lux to Aurelia Partners to a network of wallets. We don't have the smoking gun that proves she knowingly laundered it. That usually requires a paper trail, a confession, or someone who hates her enough to talk." Someone who hates her enough. I thought of neighbors who tolerated her charm. I thought of party clients who handed her envelopes like currency. I also thought of my mother, who would never forgive me if I fell into the kind of darkness Lux was trying to shove me into. My moral compass felt like a compass in a house fire, warped, melting, pointing to no one place. Hector suggested something that made my teeth ache. "We can mirror a pattern, put a breadcrumb in the water and see what bites. If Lux has a handler who moves funds, they'll react. If she has a safe deposit box that tracks to her name, we might find a physical trail." He carefully skirted the line between cunning and criminal. He never explained how to cross it, only that we'd test reactions and gather public-facing receipts and surveillance. I consented because consent felt cleaner than panic. We staged a small legal sting. Maya posted a throwaway story, an accidental flex, of a new pendant on a rooftop, geotagged the wrong neighborhood, and let the city do what it does: gossip and rote signals. I sat at Hector's place, the kind of room filled with screens that hummed like bees, and watched as patterns rearranged themselves. A transfer pinged. Small, insignificant to a bank, enormous to someone like me. It flickered across one of Hector's monitors and then vanished into the web. Hector smiled, not triumphantly, just the way someone smiles when they've finally found a missing tooth. But I learned something else in that moment. Lux had eyes and ears. She responded to threats fast. The next morning, my manager called me into the office. "You need to take a few days off," he said, pity thin as a crepe. "The club can't have that attention." The city's murmur turned into a glare. Clients canceled reservations. The tips evaporated. I sat at the edge of my bed and tried to tally what I had left. Embarrassment. A bank of bruises to my reputation. A tiny map Hector had given me that promised redemption. Then came the twist no one warned me about. The taller officer from the raid, the one with the clipboard and the even voice, showed up at the club 2 nights later. He didn't come alone. Beside him walked a woman in a pressed blouse with a camera slung like a weapon, and behind them, a man with a badge that smelled like paperwork. "Miss Moreno?" he asked, like a man who's already concluded his case. "Do I have to speak to you?" I asked, raw. "We've been reevaluating the narcotics tip," he said. "There are inconsistencies, but we do have a new angle: financial irregularities tied to Lux. We need to ask you about her contacts." My stomach slid on ice. This could save me, or bury me deeper. Behind the officer, Lux glanced my way. Her smile was slow, like a camera creeping in. "Funny world," she said, loud enough for the corner of the bar to hear. "You see how things go? When I look out for people, sometimes I find things they don't want you to know." She winked at me as if she'd handed me a present full of razor blades. Hector's message hit my phone then. "They're circling. Be careful. Don't move anything." I swallowed and felt the ledger inside me pulse. We had a path. We had a risk. And then my phone buzzed again. An unknown number. No message. Just a link. My thumb hovered, my chest hammered. I had to choose: open the link and step closer to the truth, or let the trail go cold and hope the law finds favor. Before I could answer, footsteps thundered up the club stairs. The footsteps hit like a drum roll. 3 men in tailored suits swept into the club's upstairs lounge. They didn't belong. Too crisp, too corporate for a room washed in neon and sweat. One of them scanned the space, his gaze hawk-sharp, until it landed on me. Lux raised her glass like she'd been expecting them. The taller officer stiffened, clearly not briefed for this intrusion. The man in the middle, silver tie, controlled smile, stepped forward. "Jovie Moreno?" His voice was silk stretched over stone. "Yes?" My throat was dry gravel. He slid a card across the table before I could answer more. "Aurelia Partners, Client Relations." My blood iced. The name from Hector's sheet. Lux's smile widened, teeth catching the strobe light. "We understand you've been asking questions," the man said smoothly. "Questions about accounts that aren't yours. That can get dangerous." Behind me, the officer bristled. "Sir, this is an active investigation." Silver Tie cut him off with a hand gesture. "And it's our client's privacy at stake. Perhaps Ms. Moreno would prefer to stop poking where she doesn't belong." The entire club seemed to hold its breath. My phone buzzed again. "Hector, do not talk. Walk away. I've got the link." I glanced down. The mysterious link was still open on my screen, waiting like a trap. "What if I don't stop?" I asked, voice low. Lux leaned forward, her perfume hitting me like citrus smoke. "Then you'll find out what happens to people who dig too deep. And trust me, Jovie, you won't like the ending." Her words slithered under my skin. But instead of fear, I felt something hotter: defiance. I tapped the link. The screen blinked. Then lines of numbers filled it. Balances, transfers, account names. Some blurred, some clear enough to carve into memory. I looked up slowly. Silvertie's smile faltered. Lux's hand jerked, knocking her glass over. The officer noticed. His eyes narrowed. "What's on that phone?" Before I could answer, the men in suits turned to leave. Fast, controlled, like smoke retreating before flame. Lux followed them with her eyes, panic cracking through her mask. Hector's next text hit. That was her. Her accounts. "We have proof. Don't lose the phone. Meet me in 1 hour." My heart slammed so hard it hurt. I had proof. Finally, proof. But proof attracts predators. Lux stood blocking my path. "Give me the phone, Jovie, now." The officer stepped between us, but her eyes locked on mine, unblinking, daring. I slipped the phone into my pocket, pulse raging, and whispered back, "Not this time." And just as the officer ordered us both to sit, the club lights flickered out. Total darkness. A scream echoed from the stairs. The scream cracked through the blackout, followed by a scramble of footsteps. I couldn't see a thing, only smell sweat, spilled vodka, and ozone from the DJ's fried board. Someone shoved past me. A table went down with a crash. Lux's perfume ghosted by, and my instincts screamed, "She's moving for the phone." "Freeze!" the officer barked, but darkness doesn't freeze. It multiplies. I gripped my pocket like it was a lifeline. The phone buzzed again. "Hector, get out. Fire exit, now." I shoved through bodies, feeling for the wall, counting doors by memory. The club was chaos. Voices high-pitched, furniture scraping, glass breaking like gunfire. Then, fingers clawed my wrist. Lux. "You think you've won?" she hissed, voice inches from my ear. "That link is poison. You'll go down with me." I wrenched free, adrenaline snapping like a wire. My hand connected with her shoulder. Not a strike, just a push. She staggered into the dark, cursing. A beam of flashlight cut through the black. The officer. "Hands where I can see them!" But the crowd surged, bodies colliding, and I slipped sideways into the hallway. The fire exit door was heavy, its push bar stiff with rust, but it gave. Night air hit me like a baptism. Miami's humidity wrapped my lungs, but at least I could breathe. I sprinted down the alley, heart detonating in my chest. Rats scattered. A dumpster reeked. Sirens wailed blocks away. Hector's next text, left on 14th. "Look for the blue Honda." I ran until my legs screamed. Then headlights flashed twice. Hector's car. I dove inside. He peeled out before the door slammed shut. "You got the link?" he asked, eyes glued to the mirror. I pulled my phone out, screen glowing like a torch. "I've got it. Numbers, names, accounts." Hector exhaled, sharp and ragged. Then Lux just lost her only weapon. I wanted to believe him. But I knew better. Lux wasn't the kind of woman to surrender. She was the kind who rebuilt her battlefield. "She'll come harder now," I whispered. Hector nodded. "Yeah. But now we hit back. We use her greed. We make her chase her own shadow." I clutched the phone tighter, my hand still trembling. Somewhere behind us, Miami's skyline pulsed like a warning. And in the rear view, I swore I saw Lux step out of the alley, smiling even in the darkness. The night swallowed us as Hector steered the Honda through back streets. I clutched the phone like it could burn me. Every bump in the road felt like it might shake the proof right out of my hands. "First thing," Hector said, eyes flicking from windshield to mirror. "We back it up. Multiple servers, cold storage. Even if she smashes that phone, her empire burns." He pulled into a dim parking lot behind a 24-hour laundromat. The hum of dryers covered our whispers. He set up his laptop, cables coiled like snakes. "Plug it in." I slid the phone across. His fingers flew over the keys, lines of code spilling like rain. "What exactly are we looking at?" I asked, voice tight. "Accounts routed through Aurelia Partners. Cayman nodes, Singapore shells, payouts in Miami cash. She's not just stealing your credit card, Jovie. She's laundering money for someone bigger." The words landed heavy. This wasn't petty theft. This was organized rot. And now you've got the ledger, Hector added, which makes you the most dangerous person in her orbit. The laundromat lights flickered. I froze. Hector didn't. Relax. Just bad wiring. But I couldn't. Lux's shadow felt stitched into my skin. He finished the transfer, sliding a flash drive into my palm. Hide it. Not here. Somewhere she'd never think to look. I tucked it into my shoe, heart hammering. Now comes the fun part, Hector said, a glint in his eye. We bait her. How? Lux can't stand the idea of losing control. If she thinks you've leaked even a taste, she'll scramble. And when she scrambles, she makes mistakes. I pictured her face, the lightning bolt necklace, the smirk like she owned every room. I wanted to wipe it off her forever. Before I could answer, headlights swept the lot. A sleek black SUV rolled in. Too quiet, too deliberate. Move! Hector hissed. He slammed the laptop shut, yanking me toward the back door of the laundromat. We slipped inside, weaving between humming machines. My chest felt like it would explode. Through the fogged glass, I saw doors open on the SUV. Figures stepped out, slow, precise. They're not cops, Hector whispered. They're hers. The heat of panic climbed my throat, but beneath it was something colder. Rage. I'm done running, I said, surprising myself. Hector's jaw tightened. Then we make her run. He slipped a burner phone into my hand. Post a piece of the ledger, just enough to scare. Hashtags, screenshots. Make it public, but vague. She'll know it's you. I hesitated. Posting meant exposure. Posting meant war. But war was already here. I opened notes, copied one line. A transaction from Skyline Jewelry, tied directly to Lux's alias. I blurred numbers, left just enough visible. Then I posted it to a throwaway account. Caption: When light pretends to shine, shadows get paid. Lux lies. Within seconds, notifications pinged. Hector grinned grimly. Bait cast. Outside, the SUV doors slammed. The figures turned their heads, phones lighting their faces. Lux would know, and she would come. The burner phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Retweets, likes, anonymous comments. The post was spreading like gasoline on water. Hector leaned over his laptop, eyes reflecting blue code. She saw it, he muttered. Lux knows. Look. He spun the screen toward me. On a dark forum thread, her alias had just lit up. Anyone know who's leaking my transactions? My pulse kicked. She's rattled. Good, Hector said. Rattled people make mistakes. But mistakes cut both ways. The laundromat's glass door creaked open. Two silhouettes slipped in, casual like customers, but their eyes scanned too sharp. Time to move, Hector hissed. We ducked out the back, sneakers squealing on tile. Miami's night air swallowed us again. In the alley, a third figure blocked our path. Lux. She wore black leather, lightning bolt necklace glinting under a street lamp. Her smile was knife-thin. You've been busy, she purred. Funny, I shot back. So have your accounts. Her gaze sharpened. You don't know what you're holding, Jovie. That ledger isn't just me. It's people who don't forgive. Hector's grip tightened on my arm. Don't listen, she's bluffing. Lux stepped closer, perfume slicing the humid air. You think you've got proof? All you've got is a suicide note with your name on it. You leak more, and they'll come for you. Not me. You. Her words were poison, but they slithered into the cracks of my fear. What do you want? I demanded. Simple, she said, smile widening. Delete it. Drop this crusade, and maybe, I'll let you walk away alive. The SUV engines hummed nearby, her shadows waiting. Hector whispered, She's cornering us. We need a pivot. I felt my fingernails bite into my palms. Running wasn't an option. Neither was silence. I met Lux's eyes and said, Steady. You taught me something, Lux. Control isn't about what you hold. It's about what you're willing to lose. Her smirk faltered, just a crack. Hector squeezed my arm once. Now. I yanked the burner phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over the post-all folder Hector had queued. Dozens of files, screenshots, transactions ready to flood the net. Lux's eyes widened, her hand shot forward. And I hit post. The phone chirped. Uploading. Her scream ripped the night. The SUV doors flew open. Shadows lunged. Hector shoved me down as the first figure rushed. My cheek scraped asphalt, pain bursting hot. Above the chaos, my phone pinged once more. Upload complete. The trap had sprung. Chaos swallowed the alley. Boots pounded pavement. Fists swung. Shouts ricocheted off graffiti-stained walls. Hector yanked me up. Run! We bolted, the burner phone still warm in my hand. The air reeked of gasoline and fear. Behind us, Lux screamed, "Stop them!" Her voice cracked with rage, but beneath it, I heard panic. Because she knew what I had just unleashed. We cut through a side street, weaving past dumpsters and chain-link fences. My chest burned, my legs screaming, but I kept running. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not for us, not yet, but coming closer. Miami doesn't sleep, and neither does law enforcement when money moves in shadows. We dove into an abandoned parking garage. Hector slammed the door behind us, his face pale with adrenaline. "You did it," he said, panting. "The files are out there. Every transaction tied to Lux. They'll spread like wildfire." I leaned against the concrete wall, trying to catch my breath. "So that's it? She's finished?" Hector shook his head grimly. "Not yet. She'll fight. People like her don't go quietly, but the internet doesn't forget, and banks don't ignore numbers that precise. She's bleeding now." I wanted to smile, but my stomach twisted. Lux wasn't just angry, she was cornered. And cornered predators bite the hardest. As if summoned by the thought, my phone buzzed. My real phone this time. A message from an unknown number. "You think you're clever? You've made enemies you can't even see. TikTok, Jovie." The words chilled me more than the Miami night. Hector read over my shoulder. "She's bluffing. Stay focused. This is where she cracks." But my mind replayed Lux's face in the alley, the mask slipping, the raw fear in her eyes. Fear makes people reckless. The next morning, the fallout began. News alerts lit up. Anonymous account leaks financial records of Miami socialite. Comments exploded online. Hashtags trended. Ha, Lux lies. Miami money. Lightning fraud. Clubs whispered. Clients vanished. Her world was shaking, and I could feel the tremors even from a distance. But then, twist of the knife. An email dropped into my inbox. Subject line, eviction notice. Lux had pulled strings with the landlord. I was being kicked out. "She's still playing dirty," I muttered, slamming the laptop shut. Hector's jaw clenched. "Good. That means she's desperate. We press harder." I wanted to believe him. But sitting there, surrounded by concrete and neon shadows, I realized something brutal. I had started a war I couldn't control. And in war, casualties don't always get to choose sides. Miami woke up buzzing with Lux's name. News anchors wore polite smiles, but their eyes sparkled like sharks smelling blood. Clips of her in glittering dresses ran next to screenshots of leaked ledgers. "She's trending worldwide," Hector said, scrolling his laptop. "She's toxic now. Nobody wants to touch her." I should have felt victorious. Instead, my stomach churned. Because Lux was too dangerous to simply fade. My phone rang. It was Maya, breathless. "Jovie, you need to hear this. Someone trashed your apartment. Everything's gone. Furniture, clothes, even your photos." Like a storm blew through. My knees wobbled. "Lux." She left a message on the wall. Maya's voice cracked. "Spray paint. You started this. I'll finish it." Hector swore under his breath. "She's spiraling. That makes her lethal." I sat on the cold concrete floor, fists digging into my thighs. She took everything, my home, my name, my safety. Hector crouched down, eyes steady. "Then take hers. Publicly. Don't stop now. We drown her in her own lies." Before I could answer, a new notification buzzed. A video clip. I pressed play. Lux appeared on screen, fake tears glistening. "She's framing me," Lux sobbed into the camera. "My roommate Jovie, she's unstable, violent. She hacked me. She's trying to ruin my life. Please, someone stop her before she hurts me." The clip ended. Already thousands of comments swarmed below it. Some believed her, some didn't. But the doubt was enough to burn. "She flipped the script," I whispered. "She's painting me as the monster." Hector's jaw locked. "Then we flip it again. With receipts. With faces. With people who've seen her real game." He started listing names. Old clients, shady promoters, bartenders who'd seen Lux skim cash, neighbors who'd heard her fights. If we could get even one to speak on record, it would rip her mask off. But witnesses are like dominoes. They fall only when pushed. And Lux had scared most people into silence. That night, I sat by the window of the safe house Hector found, staring at the Miami skyline. Every light felt like an eye watching. Every shadow felt like her hand reaching. I clenched the flash drive in my palm, whispering to myself, "If she wants war, she'll get it." But the cost was already mounting, and I didn't yet know how much more I was willing to lose. The morning after her crocodile tears video, Miami felt split in two. Half the city believed Lux, the poor socialite victimized by her crazy roommate. The other half smelled blood and demanded justice. I was stuck in the middle, my name bouncing between hashtags like a pinball. Justice for Lux. Free Jovie. Lux lies. It was chaos, and chaos is fertile ground. Hector slammed a folder down in front of me at the safe house. "I've got 3 maybe witnesses," he said. "One bartender who swears Lux skimmed tips, a promoter who claims she charged him double, and a neighbor who says she's heard fights, drugs, the works." "Claims isn't enough," I muttered. "We need someone on record. A face. A voice." Maya arrived then, dark circles under her eyes. "She's scared," Hector said quietly. "But she'll talk." Maya perched on the edge of the couch, wringing her hands. "I kept quiet because Lux scares people. But I saw her use your card, Jovie, at Skyline Jewelry. She bragged about it. Said you were too dumb to notice." The words lit a fire in my chest. "Will you say that? On camera?" Her eyes flickered. Fear, then resolve. "Yes. If it means she finally pays." Hector wasted no time. He set up a camera, the kind with a timestamp overlay to prove it was real. Maya's voice trembled but held steady. She laid it all out. The card, the bragging, the bags of shoes Lux bought with my name. When it was done, Hector uploaded the clip to the same account we'd used for the ledger. It went viral within hours. Suddenly, I wasn't alone. Other voices came forward, screenshots of text messages, receipts, whispers from people Lux had burned. One promoter posted, "She made me pay twice for the same event. Said if I spoke, she'd ruin me." The tide was turning, but Lux was far from beaten. That night, she went live. Perfect lighting, flawless makeup, crocodile tears 2.0. "They're lying," she said to her thousands of followers. "Jovie is manipulating them. I'm the one who's in danger. Please. Believe me." Her followers spammed the comments, some cheering, some doubting. The war for truth was no longer just in courtrooms or clubs. It was online, raw, and public. Hector leaned close, whispering, "This is the storm before she falls. But brace yourself. Cornered snakes bite hardest." I nodded, gripping the flash drive in my pocket. For the first time, I felt the tide shifting my way. But victory still tasted like smoke. The city felt like it was holding its breath. Lux's livestream still echoed in feeds, her tears polished and rehearsed. But Maya's testimony burned hotter, spreading faster. Everywhere I went online, it was war. Her defenders against my truth. And in that war, I was learning. Attention cuts both ways. That night, Hector burst into the safe house, laptop under his arm. His face was pale but alive with adrenaline. "She's desperate," he said. She tried to move the rest of her money, big transfers, offshore to Dubai, but the accounts froze mid-transfer. Banks are onto her. I stood so fast the chair toppled. So she's done? Not yet. She still has her claws, and she's lashing out. He spun the laptop toward me. A new video played, shaky footage outside my old apartment building. Lux's voice narrated, low and venomous. Here's where Jovie lived, here's what she left behind. This is what happens when liars run. Then she flipped the camera, staring straight into the lens. You can't hide from me, Jovie. My skin crawled. She wanted me afraid. She wanted me to vanish. Hector swore. She's doxing you, putting a target on your back. I swallowed bile. Then maybe it's time to stop hiding. Maya's voice chimed in from the doorway. She had shown up again, nervous but determined. People are scared, Jovie, but they're also watching. If you step out of the shadows, if you speak in your own words, they'll listen. They need to see you. Her words struck deep. I had been reacting, surviving, but never owning the narrative. Lux painted me as a ghost, a villain. Maybe it was time to speak. Hector shook his head. Going public makes you a bigger target. Are you ready for that? I stared at my reflection in the dusty window. My face looked older, harder, carved by nights of fear. Ready or not, I don't have a choice. I grabbed the flash drive, my proof, my anchor. If she wants to fight in the open, then I'll bring the light. No more hiding. The plan formed itself in my head, reckless but alive. A press conference, cameras, live stream, the truth in my voice. Hector's eyes widened. You'll be putting yourself on stage with sharks circling. Good, I said. Let them watch her bleed. Maya nodded slowly. I'll stand with you. She can't silence all of us. The room buzzed with a new kind of energy. Terror, yes, but also clarity. Outside, Miami hummed with nightlife, oblivious. But inside me, something shifted. I wasn't prey anymore. We rented the cheapest community hall Hector could find. Peeling paint, flickering fluorescent lights, a podium that leaned like it had given up years ago. Not glamorous, not grand, but it had Wi-Fi, outlets, and space for cameras. That was enough. Are you sure about this? Hector asked, looping cables like prayer beads. No, I said honestly, but it's time. Maya placed a trembling hand on my arm. You're not alone, Jovie. Not anymore. We set up an old DSLR, tied into a live stream account. Hector's code-layered protection, bouncing the feed through servers across continents. If they try to shut it down, it'll just mirror somewhere else, he explained. I nodded, clutching the flash drive like it was both sword and shield. The hall filled slowly. Reporters curious about the leaks. Locals who wanted spectacle. Strangers who wanted blood. The room buzzed like static, cameras adjusting, whispers scratching the air. When the clock hit 7, Hector gave me the signal. I stepped up to the podium. My knees shook, but my voice had to be louder than fear. Good evening, I began, eyes scanning a sea of faces. My name is Jovie Moreno. You've heard my name from someone who wants to erase me. Tonight, you'll hear it from me. The murmurs stilled. I held up the flash drive. This contains records, proof, of transactions linked to Lux, my roommate, my betrayer. She maxed out my card, framed me for drugs, and tried to destroy my life. But she wasn't just stealing from me. She was laundering money through shell accounts. Money that doesn't belong to her. Money that hurts all of us. Gasps. A camera flash popped like lightning. I felt strength climb into my chest, word by word. She told the world I'm unstable, that I'm a liar, that I'm dangerous. But I am standing here because I refuse to let her write my story. This is my story. I played Maya's testimony on the projector. Her voice cracked but rang true. The bartender's account followed. The promoter's text screenshots. Piece by piece. A mosaic of betrayal. The room leaned forward. Reporters scribbled. Phones buzzed. The feed ticked upward. Thousands of viewers, then tens of thousands. I took a deep breath. Lux built her empire on lies, and tonight, we bring those lies into the light. Applause broke, hesitant at first, then rolling like a wave. For a moment, I felt the weight lift. Then the doors at the back slammed open. Lux stood there. Perfect makeup, black dress, lightning bolt pendant gleaming like a weapon. "Stop this!" she hissed, voice cutting through the hall. Every camera swung to her. Every eye followed. And I realized this wasn't just a press conference anymore. This was the showdown. The hall froze. Every head turned toward Lux, her heels clicking against the linoleum like gunshots. She walked straight down the aisle, smile sharp, eyes glittering with venom. Cameras swiveled, reporters whispered like vultures circling fresh meat. "Sit down, Lux," I said into the microphone, my voice steadier than my pulse. "Sit down?" She laughed. Too loud, too brittle. "You think you're some kind of hero now? All you've done is broadcast your own insanity." Maya stood up from the front row, trembling but fierce. "We saw you, Lux. I saw you use her card. You bragged about it." Lux's gaze sliced her like a blade. "And you? You're a nobody, clinging to Jovie's fantasy because you're jealous of me." Gasps rippled. Reporters scribbled furiously. I leaned forward. "Lux, the world is watching. Every lie you spin just proves the truth. You're unraveling." Her smile cracked. She slammed both palms on the podium, leaning close enough for me to smell her citrus perfume. "You don't know who you're dealing with. Those accounts aren't just mine. There are people behind them who will make you disappear." I held up the flash drive between us, steady. "Then why are you here, Lux? If you're so powerful, why are you shaking?" Her eyes flickered, fear, quick as lightning. The room buzzed louder, cameras capturing every second. The live stream numbers spiked into 6 figures. Lux tried to rally. She turned to the crowd, voice rising. "She's framing me. She planted those files. Don't you see? This is all a setup." Before she could finish, Hector projected the final receipt on the screen behind us. A jewelry transaction. Her signature. Her face on the store's surveillance still. The crowd gasped as one. Reporters shouted over each other. The flash of cameras was blinding. Lux spun, staring at the screen, her mask collapsing in real time. And I felt it. The shift. For the first time, the world didn't see her shine. They saw her rot. But victory didn't feel safe. Because cornered as she was, Lux looked back at me with eyes that promised one thing. This wasn't over. Reporters swarmed like bees to a split hive. Questions shouted over each other, camera flashes bursting like fireworks. Lux's face drained of its polish. Her lipstick-perfect smile had cracked, and no amount of light could glue it back. But instead of surrendering, she doubled down. "This is fake!" she screamed, pointing at the screen. "Deepfakes! Edited receipts! You're all being played!" The crowd murmured. But this time, disbelief outweighed support. They had seen her signature, her face, her fury. A police siren wailed outside the hall. The sound sliced through the noise. 2 uniformed officers pushed through the doors. Behind them, the taller detective from before carried a folder thick with warrants. "Lux Anderson," he called, voice cutting through the chaos. "We need you to come with us." The room erupted. Lux froze, the lightning bolt pendant trembling against her chest. For the first time, her mask slipped fully, fear flooding her eyes. "No," she whispered. "Not like this." She tried to bolt for the side door, but the officers caught her fast. Reporters captured every second, her wrists twisting, her hair falling wild, her screams echoing as the cuffs snapped shut. "You'll regret this, Jovie!" she shrieked, struggling against the grip. "You don't know what you've started." The crowd roared louder, half in shock, half in triumph. Phones shot every angle. Lux, the untouchable, dragged out under neon lights, her empire cracking in real time. I stood at the podium, chest heaving, the flash drive still warm in my pocket. For a moment, I expected to feel pure victory, relief. But all I felt was exhaustion, deep and raw. Because Lux wasn't wrong. Wars like this don't end with a pair of handcuffs. Hector touched my shoulder, grounding me. You did it. The truth's out. The world saw. I nodded, my throat tight. Maya slipped her hand into mine, steady and quiet. But even as the cameras turned from me to chase Lux's downfall, I knew something simple and terrifying. Exposing her was only step one. The real battle would be reclaiming my name. The dust didn't settle overnight. Miami feasted on the spectacle of Lux's arrest, but once the headlines cooled, the cameras turned their lenses elsewhere. For me, the silence was louder than the noise. Hector sat across from me at the safe house, scrolling through updates. She's being held without bail. Fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. It stacked against her. I nodded, though the knot in my chest stayed. That doesn't give me back what she stole. Maya placed a mug of coffee in front of me. But it clears your name. People see her now for what she is. Online, the tide had shifted. Lux lies had outlasted high-turned justice for Lux. Clips of her screaming in cuffs drowned out her carefully staged live streams. My own video, shaky voice, trembling hands, had been remixed, subtitled, amplified by strangers across the globe. And yet, I still woke at night with echoes of her voice in my head. You don't know what you've started. 1 week later, I walked back to my old workplace. The club throbbed with bass but quieter somehow, as if humbled by the chaos that had passed through. My manager met me at the door, arms folded. You ready to work again? I hesitated. If you'll have me? He nodded. We saw the truth, Jovie. Customers ask about you. They're rooting for you. Inside, the regulars clapped me on the back. Some whispered thanks. Some just smiled. For the first time, I didn't feel like a ghost in my own life. Later, alone under the Miami moon, I held the flash drive one last time. Proof, pain, everything that had almost destroyed me. I buried it in the sand at the edge of the water. Let the tide claim it. Because I didn't need it anymore. The world had seen. The truth had been spoken. And I still had my name. Jovie, not villain, not victim, survivor. This wasn't just revenge, it was reclamation.